Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, so if you've ever found yourself wondering why some companies operate like these perfectly well-oiled machines while others feel like absolute pure chaos, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, I'm going to be your tutor, and we are diving deep into the truly fascinating world of organizational structures. And listen, we aren't just talking about those boring, dusty org charts hanging on a wall somewhere in a break room. No way. We're talking about the very DNA of a business. We're looking at how communication actually flows, how rapid decisions get made, and how businesses are literally built from the ground up to succeed in the real world. I can promise you, by the end of this session, you're going to look at every single company you interact with in a completely different light. So before we jump into the heavy theory, let's just ask a massive, highly practical question. Why is it that some genuinely brilliant ideas backed by incredible funding and top-tier talent, sometimes get completely crushed by something as seemingly simple as bad desk arrangements? And obviously by desk arrangements, I'm talking about the fundamental architecture of who reports to whom. Imagine a superstar software team building a revolutionary new app. They've got the code, they know the market is hungry for it, but they completely fail to launch on time. Why? Because the developers literally do not know who has the actual authority to approve the final build. So they send out these emails that just bounce around between middle managers for weeks, and while they're stuck in inbox purgatory, competitors swoop in and beat them to the punch. That right there is the invisible hand of organizational structure. It's either going to propel a team to total market dominance or it's going to completely suffocate their innovation. All right, here is our masterclass blueprint for today. We'll start with number 1, the foundation. Then we'll move into 2, the structural showdown. After that, we'll walk through 3, real-world application steps. And we will wrap it all up with 4, the exam prep finale. Okay, let's kick things off with section 1, the foundation.
Let's think about how organizing actually fits into the much broader picture of management. It perfectly anchors the concept of organizing right between the other core management functions. You've got planning on one side to set the direction and leading on the other to inspire the effort, with controlling making sure you actually get the results. But organizing is the engine room. It is where you literally create the structures by dividing up the work, arranging your resources, and coordinating all the activities. Think about it. If you're a manager, you can plan all day long. You can map out these incredible strategies and forecast huge, record-breaking profits. But until you sit down and organize exactly who is doing what, your plans are basically just daydreams. Organizing is the critical bridge between a really good idea and real-world execution.
To make that engine room function properly, you absolutely must know this foundational definition, work specialization. It's also known as the division of labor. It simply means the degree to which massive organizational tasks are subdivided into bite-sized, highly efficient individual jobs. Let's use a physical example. Think about building a car. If one single person tries to build an entire car from scratch, it's going to take months, and honestly, it'll probably fall apart the second it hits the highway. But if you divide the labor, say one person installs the engine, another paints the doors, and another fits the tires, you suddenly unlock extreme efficiency. And we see this exact same thing in digital spaces too. Instead of one web developer trying to build a massive platform totally alone, you have a UI designer, a back-end coder, and a copywriter all working in tandem. Extreme specialization equals extreme efficiency. Now, I need you to grab your mental highlighters for this one, because this right here is a classic trap for students and seasoned managers alike. It's so easy to confuse authority with responsibility, but they are fundamentally different. Listen closely. Authority is the power vested in your organizational position. It flows down the vertical hierarchy, giving you the legitimate right to give orders and allocate resources. But responsibility, that is your actual day-to-day duty to do the work. Now, the magic missing glue between the two is accountability. You can delegate authority to a subordinate to make a decision, sure, but accountability means you, the manager, still hold the ultimate responsibility for the final outcome. Keeping these concepts distinct is absolutely vital. If you give someone the responsibility to do a huge task, but you give them zero authority to make the decisions required to get it done, you are literally just setting them up to fail. Let's move right along to section 2, the structural showdown. First up in our structural showdown, we are pitting functional against divisional. Think of a big legacy commercial bank. They usually use a functional setup. That means all the accountants are clustered together on the 3rd floor and all the marketers are up on the 4th floor. This offers a highly efficient use of resources and deep skill specialization. But the major downside?
notoriously slow responses to external changes, mostly because those departments exist in silos and rarely talk to each other. Now, compare that to a highly adaptable company like Disney. They use a divisional approach. They've got a movies division, a theme parks division, and a merchandise division. This structure allows them to respond incredibly fast to shifting customer needs. The catch here is duplicated resources. Instead of one giant centralized HR department for the entire Disney empire, the movies division has its own HR team and the theme parks division has a completely separate HR team. Yes, it definitely costs more money to run it this way, but the sheer speed and agility it provides in an unstable environment makes it completely worth it to them.
Next up, we're looking at the matrix structure versus the team structure. A giant, highly complex multinational corporation might use a matrix structure. This essentially combines functional and divisional chains of command simultaneously to maximize resource efficiency. But be warned, it causes intense frustration stemming from dual command confusion. Picture this. You are an engineer in a matrix structure. Your functional boss tells you to prioritize rigorous safety testing all week, but your divisional project boss is breathing down your neck, telling you to rush the product to launch by Friday. Who on earth do you listen to? That is dual command confusion in action. On the flip side, a smaller, agile tech startup will often lean into a team structure. This totally breaks down those rigid departmental barriers and leads to lightning-fast, highly collaborative decisions without all that vertical friction. However, the major risk here is dual loyalties and honestly spending way too much time sitting in meetings trying to reach a group consensus rather than just relying on a clear single chain of command.
Now, let's look at a super modern twist that basically breaks all the traditional rules we just learned. Enter the virtual network approach. Instead of trying to build every single department under one giant corporate roof, this approach basically says, hey, let's keep a tiny, highly focused internal footprint, and we'll just let external experts handle everything else through subcontracting.
Picture a beautifully simple hub and spoke setup to see how this functions in reality. Right at the absolute center, you have a very small, highly strategic company core hub. From there, the company outsources its major functions to completely separate companies scattered all over the globe. They might use a top-tier design agency in Canada, a massive accounting firm in India, high-tech manufacturing plants in China, and a razor-sharp legal team based in the UK. The core company doesn't own any of these peripheral functions. They don't own the buildings, and they don't employ the staff directly. They merely coordinate them. The management style required for this to work is intense. It's like being a master conductor leading a massive global orchestra, making sure every single external player hits the exact right note at exactly the right time.
Imagine a massive global apparel brand like Nike. They rely heavily on this virtual network structure. It allows them to draw on worldwide expertise, and it massively, massively reduces their overhead costs. Why? Because they aren't paying to maintain giant, expensive factories or trying to heat massive warehouses year-round. They stay highly flexible. However, we have to be real. This is not a free lunch. It demands way more from managers because you instantly suffer from a significant lack of direct control. Furthermore, employee loyalty in this model is inherently weaker. Think about it realistically. If you work on the floor of a subcontracted manufacturing plant in Thailand, your paycheck and your daily loyalty are tied entirely to your factory boss. They are not tied to the Nike core brand sitting all the way over in Oregon. So, if a more lucrative contract comes along from a competitor, that factory might simply prioritize the other brand over yours. It's a huge strategic trade-off.
Let's get practical with Section 3, Real-World Application Steps.
Theory is fantastic, but knowing how to actually execute it is what gets you promoted in the real world. Let's say you are brought into a struggling company. Decisions take weeks, employee morale is at rock bottom, and competitors are literally running circles around you. Treat this situation like a high-stakes rescue operation and follow these 3 super satisfying steps. Step 1, audit your hierarchy. You need to identify excessive hierarchical levels. Are there 5 layers of middle managers sitting between the CEO and the frontline workers? If so, that is your bottleneck. Step 2, empower your lower-level managers through active delegation. Give them both the authority and the responsibility to make localized decisions right there on the floor, without asking for permission every 5 minutes. And step 3, systematically transition the overall structure to a wider span of control. Stop the micromanaging, spread out the oversight, and fully embrace modern decentralization.
If we compare a narrow span of control to a wide span of control, the difference is night and day. A narrow span operates like a tall, incredibly rigid ladder. It is deeply, painfully bureaucratic. Every piece of information has to slowly climb up all those individual management rungs just to get approval, and then it has to slowly climb all the way back down. By contrast, a wide span of control drastically reduces those management levels. It flattens out the hierarchy. Because it's flatter, a single manager takes on more direct reports. Now, this forces leaders to stop micromanaging and start genuinely trusting their employees to do their jobs. It speeds up communication significantly and inherently boosts morale simply because workers finally feel empowered to act, rather than feeling like they're constantly being watched. All right, let's bring it all home with Section 4, the exam prep finale. This is exactly how this topic is typically presented when you're sitting in an exam room. The prompt will ask, how does production technology influence organizational structure? It's a broad, pretty intimidating question, and it trips up a lot of students. Why? Because they tend to either focus entirely on the cool technology side or they focus entirely on the dry organizational side without actually bridging the two concepts together. So take a deep breath, grab your pen, and let's break down exactly how you conquer this specific question like a pro. To secure absolute full marks here, you need a highly strategic three-part attack. First, you must explicitly define production technology within the context of the business's core operations. Set the stage. Next, and this is exactly where you're going to separate yourself from the average student, you have to connect that technology directly to contemporary structural trends. You need to explain exactly why modern tech naturally leads to fewer management levels. The key insight you want to drop here is that automated reporting software and AI are now actively doing the monitoring work that middle managers used to spend all day doing. Because the technology handles that routine oversight effortlessly, companies can suddenly afford fewer management levels and much wider spans of control. Finally, to bring it home, explain the growing, desperate need for horizontal coordination. As technology drastically speeds up the entire business environment, traditional vertical structures become way too rigid and slow to keep up. Organizations absolutely must break down those old departmental barriers to integrate and adapt effectively. Nail those 3 points, and you've got full marks. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to keep this incredibly powerful thought firmly in your mind. Companies need more flexibility than vertical structure can offer. It is so true. The days of towering, painfully slow-moving corporate hierarchies are numbered. The future of business belongs to the agile, the decentralized, and the highly networked. The rigid corporate ladders of the past are actively being dismantled as we speak. So I want to leave you with one final provocative question to ponder. As you step into your own career and begin making high-level decisions, how will you use these structural secrets to design the perfect, ultra-flexible business of tomorrow? Thanks for joining me for this deep dive, and I will see you in the next explainer.